Hello and welcome to Money Markets and More with me, Dominic Frisby, and today you find me at the edge of the world. The world is flat, isn't it? And the Galapagos. I'm in the Galapagos Islands in Ecuador on the next leg of my travels, and I'm walking on the path from Puerto Ayora to Tortuga Bay, which would be Turtle Bay. And if I had prayed to the municipal gods to design me a path that is perfect for these walk and talks, it's hard to see how anyone could have come up with something better than this. It's literally like the yellow brick road. Look at that, except it's the red brick road. And yeah, it's quite a place. So, you know, maybe municipal councils aren't all bad after all. And so today's piece, it's quite an important piece. It's one of these longer term ones, and it deals with the next leg in the evolution of money, and it's something I've observed over the last few years. Now, as we know, money evolves constantly. Every day there's some tiny new fintech development, but it's only when you take a step back and you look at the 10 or the 20 or the 30-year picture that you realise just how much things have changed. What is money today is a far cry from what was money when I was a kid. Digital technology barely existed back then. We used cash and these things called checks. You've probably heard of them. And it's not just what we use as money that evolves, it's how money is created. That changes as well. And just this decade, there's been a major evolution. I'm talking about the last 2 or 3 years, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. Now, once upon a time, you would create money by mining gold and silver. But debt-based money systems, they've also existed since the dawn of civilization, when clay tokens representing valuable items such as barley or sheep, they'd be baked inside clay balls, and when the debt was settled, the clay balls would be smashed open. And then human beings, being the ingenious folk that we are, especially when it comes to money, we soon discovered that it was quicker. It probably took hundreds of years, but it was quicker to simply inscribe the clay with pictures of the items instead, and so did the first systems of writing develop, hieroglyphics. About 700 years BC, coins came along, then later on the printing press, both remarkably long-lived technologies, but behind it all there was always metal. And Western Europe abandoned gold in 1914 so that it could print the money to pay for World War I. And the United States did the same in 1971 amidst spiralling welfare costs and the conflict in Vietnam. And both years were landmarks in the evolution of money creation. And so we came to the fiat era, when money was debt. There's some physical cash was printed or minted, but money for the most part was created when loans were made. You borrow £1,000 to buy a house. The bank that then creates that £1,000 using the house as collateral, and then suddenly there's £1,000 in the housing market that wasn't previously there. I seem to have a man behind me, so I'm going to just stop briefly and let him pass, because he's playing some music to disturb the tranquil beauty of this place. Hola. So that's why houses kept on rising in value. The constant introduction of newly created money through mortgages. The same applies to commercial loans in the commercial real estate market. If you introduce debt into a market, prices rise. If houses were cash-based, they'd be a lot cheaper. And something similar happened in the bond markets and the financial markets with the use of leverage. Leverage is just a fancy term for debt. And there were occasional moments of credit tightening. 2008 springs to mind, but the broader trend, especially as economists and governments became obsessed with what they call growth, was forever expanding credit. And human beings, being the greedy folk that we are, especially when it comes to money, we took the whole thing too far. 2008 came along and the bubble went pop. Then a whole new way to create money was invented, quantitative easing. And central banks now started creating money, and they bailed out the system with it. Hola.
¿Qué tal?
Bien, gracias. And then they started using that newly created money to buy government bonds. So they effectively printed the money to pay for government spending. They also bought other financial assets. And so lots of newly created money went into the financial system, and from there to the expensive houses in which many of those who work in finance live. Hello. And we got another decade or more of rising prices. But because all this newly created money went into financial assets and housing, it didn't show up in the inflation numbers. Central bank inflation measures do not include houses or financial assets. So they said they thought there was no inflation. In fact, they actually believed there was no inflation. Then COVID came along and central banks could now print money and it doesn't create inflation, they thought. And they forgot about the sleight of hand that there was their inflation measures. And they printed more money. And the government handed it out to people. And that money made its way into the real economy. And now we have inflation. And they're all scratching their heads and blaming Vladimir Putin. But the nature of money creation has changed. Now money is not just debt. Governments are printing it to fund their activities. And when central bank digital currencies come along, they are going to do that even more. And as a result, I'm sorry to say, governments and all their waste are going to play a far greater role in the economy, especially where capital gets allocated. So we turn to the wise old owl that is financial historian Russell Napier. I read a brilliant interview with him recently, and he says, by issuing state guarantees on bank credit during the COVID crisis, governments have effectively taken over the levers to control the creation of money. This is me. They said it was temporary. But to quote the great Milton Friedman, nothing is so permanent as a temporary government programme. We now have the war in Ukraine, and with it spiralling energy costs, another emergency. How to deal with it? Keep with the programme. Lend money and guarantee loans. It's all happening one way or other. Every country's got their own little scheme to lend money and protect prices. So let's turn to Mr. Napier again, Russell Napier. And he says, by telling banks how and where to grant guaranteed loans, governments can direct investment where they want it to, be it energy, projects aimed at reducing inequality, or general investments to combat climate change. But by guiding the growth of credit, and therefore the growth of money, they can control the nominal growth of the economy. This is a huge win for the unelected technocrat. Nobody designed this, nobody planned it. They have just discovered that they can do it. And who was at the heart of it all in the UK? Our new Prime Minister. So perhaps, among other things, it means that the age of the all-powerful central bank is coming to an end. Napier again. This is a shift of power that cannot be underestimated, he says. Our whole economic system of the past 40 years was built on the assumption that the growth of credit, and therefore broad money in the economy, was controlled through the level of interest rates, and that central banks controlled interest rates. But now, when governments take control of private credit creation through the banking system by guaranteeing loans, central banks are pushed out of their role. And we're moving from a mechanism where bank credit is controlled by interest rates to a quantitative mechanism that is politicised. And here's the great Napier phrase: this is the politicisation of credit. Now, a lot of people might say we're in the 1970s, and Napier makes this point, and I would sort of agree with it. Inflation is often accompanied by high unemployment. It was in the 1970s. But we're in an era of low unemployment. Many are struggling to get the staff. There are staff shortages everywhere. They're struggling to get the staff at the price they're prepared to pay. This isn't a Brexit thing. It's happening across Europe and the US. Many government spending programmes will be popular. they'll create a lot more employment. We'll get probably a lot more growth, which means higher levels of inflation will be acceptable and long-lasting. So government is about to get a whole lot more involved in the economy and thus in our lives. Government is not getting smaller. How to navigate it all? We turn to our man, Russell, once more. He says, first of all, avoid government bonds. Investors in government debt are the ones who will be robbed slowly. This is me. You know, pension funds are obliged to buy government debt almost because of the way ratings work. So pension funds are going to be robbed. Within equities, there are sectors that will do very well. Look at how well the housing building companies did after Help to Buy. The great problem, this is Napier again, the great problems we have, energy, climate change, defence, inequality, our dependence on production from China, these will be solved by massive investment. The capex boom could last for a long time. And companies that are geared to this renaissance of capital spending will do well. Gold will do well, he says, thank goodness, once people realise that inflation won't come down to pre-2020 levels, but will settle between 4 and 6%. Gold is in a downtrend, but we like it, as you know. It is even more temporary. I should say, it is even more permanent than a temporary government programme. The nature of money creation has evolved once more, and this is quite an important thing to understand. Thanks very much for watching. I'll be back with another video very soon. Please subscribe. I'm out of breath climbing this hill. Please subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe to my Substack. And if you are in or around London on November the 24th wearing my comedy hat, I'm doing a gig with the Gilets Jaunes, that's my band, at Crazy Coqs in Piccadilly Circus underneath Brasserie Zerdel. It's a fantastic venue for this kind of thing. There's only about 20 tickets left, I think, but it's going to be a great night, so please come on down. But until then, and until my next video, where am I going to be next? Exciting. Goodbye.